So you had shared with me that you have a skin lesion on the left side of your body, specifically on the left calf area, above what you identified as the soleus muscle, and you're right-handed. And you had shared with me that this started possibly in September of last year, 2024. When you showed me the pictures of it, I described it as red scaly patch of skin that is sort of piled up like warty. I would term it medically as a warty growth. That's what we would call it. It appeared rough to touch, and if I extend my imagination, it feels like it's tender to touch as well.
Yes.
You said that it never bled and it never ulcerated. So that's our term for a caving in. Never did that. However, it did continue to pile up as the months went along. What else? Am I missing something here? So, and then you had seen your family doctor just this month, and you were advised to have it biopsied,
Yes.
right? Okay. Now, I was asking you about related activities, if it worsened or if it got relieved with any related body movements, and you said no. And you had said that it has felt like it's worsening rather than improving.
Yes.
Okay. So that's identifying the physical aspect. So we're going to go layer by layer, and we're going to try to dissect this issue. Based on what we know so far, with your skin being red, inflamed, warm to touch, from the German New Medicine perspective, that is already part of the healing phase. Now, if we go back to the initial concept of German New Medicine as every symptom is related to an emotional cause, when you had a conflict associated with this lesion, most likely you may not have manifested anything on the skin yet. However, and I don't know if you would recall, you may have had emotional manifestations such as frustration or a feeling of being anxious, not necessarily related to the skin, but just in general, frustration, feeling of anxiety. According to German New Medicine, when you're in a conflict active phase, which is pre-healing phase, you may have or may manifest a short-term memory loss about the event. So I don't know if that was real for you or true for you.
No, no short-term memory, but I would say frustration for the emotion because this is entangled with my daughter.
Okay.
So for the film, my daughter's 35. She functions at the level of a 1-year-old and has just recently been admitted to a nursing facility. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And um, for the site itself, for the skin itself, you may not have manifested anything other than um, possibly numbness of that skin area. So you may not have even noticed that. And all of this is happening during the time that the conflict is active. Because by the time we experience the symptoms, usually we're already in the healing phase. So I'm just outlining, just for the purposes of academic review. So you may have experienced a numb skin as the conflict was active. And what else? I'm just referring to our notes here from the class. Pale skin is possible, cool to touch. The skin could be cool to touch, not just the skin where it's affected, but your hands, your feet may have been cool to touch. In that phase, the German New Medicine is referring to as a conflict active. That phase corresponds to the body's response, or the tissue response, which would be cell loss. Now, if we identify, so we have identified your problem as a skin lesion, specifically in the layer of the epidermis, the topmost layer of the skin. That corresponds to a biological program that is running from the cerebral cortex which originates from the layer of the ectoderm in embryology. And that biological program is connected to a separation conflict. And this is all from German New Medicine principles. So with regards to separation conflict, that's what we're going to tease out. Currently, as you present, your skin is already red. It's warm to touch. And according to German New Medicine, it's in the healing phase. When, with this biological program, as it heals, the opposite tissue response happens. So when the conflict is active, you lose the cell. But as it transitions to the healing phase, cell growth happens. The cell loss is as if it's creating space for the skin lesion. But now that you moved on to the healing phase, this is now the phase where tissues are starting to rebuild that area. Therefore, now you're in the, so just imagine a construction site and you're trying to call on the crew to clean up that construction site. So you're going to expand the blood vessels so that more crew can come in. So with the expansion of the blood vessels, the heat comes, redness comes, pain may come, low-grade fevers may be there. Did you ever have mild fevers?
No. Well, I did go through a week prior to really having things be in the healing phase. I was actually unwell, like really, like I had a cold for a good week. And then when I was put on an antibiotic, the cold cleared up. I know it's not a cold, it was a trauma, obviously. And
like runny nose, you mean?
yeah, that and with the whole, all the symptoms that, you know, in medical terms would be flu, cold.
Okay.
And so everything has shifted.
Yeah.
And I feel good. And I'm not worried about my leg, other than I do feel, given I've had melanoma in 2005, and I also understand through German New Medicine why that I had that experience. And that was also related to a family system, a family dynamic related to my 35, well, my current 35-year-old daughter, but she wasn't 30 then, 35. And it's all related. Like it's all up for healing.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that information. So it looks like you have now, yes, you are now in the healing phase, and emotionally you did say you're feeling better. So part of that healing phase is an emotional feeling of renewal, an emotional feeling of well-being. And clarify this for me. Is the swelling or the pain reducing in intensity, or is it increasing?
It's definitely not increasing. I can't tell you at this point in time if it's reducing, but to be fair, I'm not poking around at it.
Okay.
I'm just giving it all the oxygen and nutrients and everything to just do what it needs to do naturally, holistically.
Okay. Because when you shared with me your photo, the continuity of your photos, the last set looked a little less inflamed to me. It looked a little less red.
Yes.
Yeah. And has it started to peel around the edges?
Yes.
Yeah. So all of those are indications per German New Medicine of a healing phase, actually starting to the scarification phase, the last bit of the healing phase. So that's all good. Body's taking care of that.
Right.
Now we dive into the symbolic connection. What is the symbolic connection? I'm sure you've done this for yourself. So help me figure you out.
Okay.
If this lesion could speak, this is my first question. If this lesion could speak. And I'm also, by the way, layering. So we've identified skin as what's this separation conflict, right? Because it's the topmost layer. However, it's also important to identify the location. Where is that lesion? So I'm superimposing those two layers together. So my questions will reflect that. So if the lesion could speak, what would it be trying to say about a connection or a relationship that feels broken, distant, or restrictive, either physically or emotionally? And the reason I specified that is because the leg represents movement, either movement away from or movement towards.
Mhm.
So now you superimpose that on the skin symbolism of the skin, which is separation, conflict, or loss of connection. Do you feel that you have uh, connection difficulties or loss of connection with someone around the issues of being restricted towards a movement that you want to go to?
Very well said. And yes, that separation conflict is twofold. Obviously, with my daughter, and then this co-parenting, I guess. Um, it's about the restriction. so, so shall I just give a little bit of background as to what's entangled? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So being holistic as I am, having enough data as I do, I was not in favor, given that my daughter through the year of 2023 spent one whole year in hospitalization. She was in an injury where she just had 40% of her body third degree burns. So through that whole year, she was not exposed to any vaccines. And that was because I was overseeing her care with a big voice saying, she's not ready. We have no idea what's going to happen to her if she should be exposed to a vaccine. Now, fast forward, this is now going into September. I was asked if I would sign off on a paper to have Karen have a vaccine, and it was a hard no. And because we're co-parenting as guardians, I needed to get her father on board and her sister. Her sister was neutral, and her father, who's a past government employee, was very pro and truly believes. And I am doing my very best to honor his path, but I was not in alignment. And the concern for me is that she would be exposed in some way that would compromise her health. So that was all happening September. And then I had my visit in October. And the timing was that I had a visit with her and she had just had a vaccine. Now, of course, I didn't sign the papers and I had no idea what the results would be. But I was there during that week visit whereby she was in her suffering. And so I entangled with her. And so there was that, and there was a whole plethora of things that happened where in that timeline, it felt like I had an injury in my shoulder. Then I jumped into German new medicine, and then I totally understood what the entanglement was there, went through the healing, and all is well. It was like instant. It was like boom, 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 great. And now there's more stuff that continues with this relationship. And I'm being very respectful. And I'm also very aware that I'm probably somewhat guarded in what I actually say because I know this is going to be public. And that's important for you to know for the work that you are doing, especially when one is filming, that everything may not be revealed exactly how I could potentially speak. But at the same time, I think you get the gist and the feeling of where I'm going.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you so much, Char. Thank you for that. So continuing on that emotional piece, currently, are you still having feelings of frustration or resentment towards that someone in your life? This is I'm just gonna say that this is a 3-question question. Are you still feeling held back or restricted by this relationship in any way? Or do you feel like you want to push someone away or kick them out of your life?
100% yes, yes, and yes.
Right.
However, I just also want to add grateful, right? Because on a positive note, there are a lot of men that would not want to continue the parenting and all the involvement with having a child with special needs. So I'm grateful on many levels. It's just that we don't speak the same language at this time in our life, right? So it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. My spiritual evolution and health and all of that, I'm on a holistic path, and I care not the path that he's on. It's just we're not meeting in the middle at all, and so it is creating some frustration and everything else that you asked. Yes.
I can imagine how much of a struggle that is internally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What might this lesion represent about a relationship, any relationship, not just with the co-parent, any relationship that feels distant to you or broken or stifling? Does it remind you of a time when you felt stuck or unable to move forward or felt like pushing someone away in another relationship, in other relationships?
Ah, whoa.
You don't have to elaborate. You can just say yes or no. And leave it up to you.
It's amazing how if you haven't healed it once, you got to heal it twice. That will come up. Yeah, I could say that maybe there's a common thread. If my skin could talk, it's like something is feeling like it's making my skin curl. Right. It's like
Girl, outward or inward?
out, outward.
Like you want to push something away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we both know this lesion is a mirror reflecting on your inner world, right?
Mm.
So your feelings of resentment, restriction, perhaps they have not been fully acknowledged.
Restriction. Yeah. I am restricted in many aspects of my life around having to be 100% fully authentic.
Yeah.
And to fully express. Um, yeah, that's pretty well said.
And how is this emotion, how is this feeling influencing your current sense of self?
That is a good question. My sense of self. Well, I guess on some level, for the longest time, and even to be filmed, it's like playing it small, not wanting to be seen. I appreciate you, Richie Ann, for really, with the work that you are doing, is encouraging us in our circle to be seen and to be heard. So communication obviously is important, but if you're getting the big hand, you don't communicate. And it seems like I've created in my life these great, powerful lessons with the people around me that are showing me the hand. And so if the hand's going up, then when I know what I'm doing is internalizing it. And because I'm not fully expressing what I really want to say.
Okay. I will address that last bit later because I have a connected question about that. So with you feeling unheard, unseen, how, let me gather my thoughts. Have you noticed this pattern in other areas of your life, not just with Karen, not just with a co-parent? Have you noticed this pattern recurring in other areas of your life, even in the past or in the current present moment?
So here's a theme. It's probably part of the human condition, very common, avoiding conflict at all costs.
Okay. All right. So avoiding conflict at all costs. I'm just shaping my questions right now. How has that served you so far?
Actually, pretty darn good. Because, and I mean, I don't know how, like I'm saying, what it's done for me is it's keeping the peace. If to avoid a conflict, there can be peace. So what that means is not engaging in an environment where there's disharmony or there's a behavior that we don't want to encourage. So if I was in an environment and another, let's say, raised their voice, quite often in relationship, there would be a mirroring of that, but I don't go there. So there's suppression. So what I do is internalize. I know often I'll put my hand on my heart and just breathe. And then I have a conversation with myself. And then maybe, can I let this feeling go? Will I let this feeling go? And when? Ooh. And then that's it. But it's suppression. I am suppressing what I could actually really give her,
And so why?
Why?
Why do you think you're doing that?
Yes.
I know sometimes it can be a default. We don't even think about it. We just act. But now that you have a chance to think of it, why is that your default?
Because if I go back into my other, like I think of these different lifetimes, in this physical avatar, that is, I would be the one that could possibly mirror that energy. And then what it would create is a volcano of eruption and disharmony and unpleasantness. And I personally don't have the energy to be in that type of environment.
Okay.
So in many cases, and I'm not going to get specific because
That's okay.
I don't want to be pinpointing anything, but it's been on some level. My mom says, "Oh, you're just so mousy, you just, and you don't say what you need to say." I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's easier. It's just way easier. Oh, come on. That's it.
It is easier, however, you do keep it within you.
Well, this is it. This is my body's talking to me.
Right.
I know.
Yeah. Have you considered, instead of keeping it within, have you considered being a volcano and just releasing it, spewing it all out, spewing all the ugly parts of you out?
Yeah. So then, just saying, so try this one on. In my family, there's mental wellness and then there's mental dysfunction. And
as with every family.
Yeah, I know, but for me, right? I was like, okay, why don't I go? Is because I don't want to be labeled bipolar or whatever. I don't like. I just don't want to have any behaviors that would be depicting that I have anger problems, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why. That's why. That's the answer to your question.
And I'm relating it to your skin. You don't want to be marked. You don't want to be perceived as imperfect or not whole.
Yes.
Because that is what the skin lesion is representing. It's a mark. It's an imperfection.
Yes.
I'm just trying to connect it to your symptom. Okay, so now you've played it safe all these years. How has that served you? What were the hidden gems in that story?
To play it safe?
Yeah. Because there must be.
There's lots.
Yes. Can you share some? I love that laugh.
Well, you know what? It does bring peace. It brings peace within an environment. And so to hold that vibration. and not erupt doesn't escalate another to erupt. Because maybe there's fear from another timeline that if there was mirroring or mimicking another, it's not safe.
You probably died in another timeline when you did that.
Well, there's that, but even in this avatar, I'm saying I've got proof to note that it's not safe. So don't go there. Just keep the peace, keep your mouth closed, and breathe. That's it.
So that's the hidden gem, the strength that you found in keeping the peace.
Yes.
Do you want to keep doing it? Is it a story that you want to keep holding on to?
Keeping the peace? Most likely, as long as I'm in the environment that I've created for myself, which I'm quite happy and content. I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Is it possible also that is it possible to find balance too in terms of not just withholding, but trying to connect and at the same time finding autonomy, finding that balance between I stand on my own, but at the same time, I do need to speak out.
Yes, and I'm getting better and better at that, truly. To be a witness to an environment where there's hostility, there's aggression, whatever, and then just to come and hold the energy, and then when the energy has shifted, then to come forth and say, we must address this, and I'm coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
And then it's easier. So in the moment, am I being authentic? No. But am I being heard, or am I communicating what needs to be shared? Yes. But I'm coming from a place of harmony and not the level of reaction that I know I could potentially have. I can be that volcano.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And maybe I just need to go for a run and let her out. Yes. And that's often is a potential and a possibility that will help this avatar.
So it seems to me like you may not necessarily or you may not necessarily at this point wanting to embrace a completely different paradigm or a completely different narrative. You do want to keep the old narrative because it is serving a purpose. However, at the same time, you are trying to find the balance.
Yes.
Right? And I'm sensing that you already are embodying that change in small. Can you just share small daily steps that like you said, I go for a run when I'm in that mood. Can you share other daily steps that you take?
Oh, you mean what's my lifestyle?
To be in that balance of connection and autonomy or freedom.
You're speaking within a relationship,
within your current relationships. How do you maintain that balance of being free being free or detached versus connecting, especially with the aggressor?
Yeah. So in those moments when if that should happen, that I'm exposed to an environment as such, I've kind of demonstrated to you what would happen is there would be a quieting. So there's a quieting, and then there may also within the quieting realize it's time to leave an environment and go for that walk or go for that run, but just to energetically be removed is a really beautiful way to change everything that's just transpired.
You're talking about physical removal, right?
Physical removal. And the other part is that I often will contemplate, is any of this going to really matter 20 years from now? And so in that, I'm like, all right, pick your battles. Yeah. Right. So that's how I'm rolling.
Yeah. Awesome. Those are very concrete actions that anyone can emulate. Thank you. So we are coming to the end of our play.
Okay.
Is there okay. Was there something new that emerged for you, or all of what we've discussed you've already processed?
I, so interesting. I've just recently, I came across a YouTube. It was absolutely fascinating. And it spoke to me from the perspective, if I'm reacting to something that's triggering me, I have more work to do.
Yes.
So I've come to realize, I actually made notes for myself because I'm going to be jumping into a sacred meditation in a couple of weeks. And I've come to realize these are the areas that I need to continue to work on. And that is compassion, acceptance, and more importantly, forgiveness. And it's forgiving myself for whatever, you see. And I am grateful for all of the teachers in my life that can and have triggered me, for me to realize, oh yeah, there's a little bit more work to do. And so having said that, I will jump into a sacred meditation pre a biopsy.
Mm.
There,
Oh, pre-biopsy.
pre
Yeah.
biopsy,
Yeah.
and therefore I shall have a wonderful, wonderful experience. The other part too is I am a keener, and if there's something that needs to be removed, have it removed. Um, I'm not a keener in some of the other modalities that can come with a diagnosis, because that's not the path that I would ever be on. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, where do you stand? Because per German New Medicine, you don't need to remove this lesion.
Mhm.
Time will be on your side on this one. However, with how it's looking, it's non-healing. I mean, there are, from the traditional medical standpoint, there are alarm signs associated with it that are warranting the biopsy.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, where do you stand when it's a clash of principles?
I meet in the middle, and I find the marriage between the allopathic model and the natural. And I guess through my practice, I've seen enough um, circumstances whereby if there's something, and it may be just for the psyche too, if something is removed, then you're
Yeah.
dropping the healing phase, right? So I because I've had a surgical procedure in the past for melanoma,
Yeah.
and but I know why it
Yeah.
presented. I didn't
Yeah.
know back then in 2005, but I certainly know today. And that experience of emotional conflict or whatever is mimicking and being mirrored in 2025. So
Yeah.
20 years later, but all still around the same subject.
When you, because when you had the melanoma, you didn't know GNM. Now that you know GNM,
Yeah.
did you ever entertain um the traditional Western perspective of, ooh, could it be another melanoma? Did you ever entertain that?
Are you talking
Knowing
about
GNM now.
currently now?
Yes.
No, absolutely not. However, my physician
Yes.
had some really interesting words to me that I will not repeat.
Okay.
I
Of
don't
course.
I don't want it out there in my field.
This is probably a fear-based flavor,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I smiled. I
Yeah.
have my heart. You just GNM. I said to him.
Now, on that thread, would you entertain, or yeah, would you entertain the possibility, or what if you don't do the biopsy? That's another possibility. How do you feel about that other possibility, the other side of the extreme?
You
Just GNM, pure GNM, nothing, no biopsy. How do you feel about that?
know, I don't run in that on that path. I'm not running on that path. I am running on total utmost respect for the medical community and honoring you as a physician. And I'm also walking the path. So I'm right in the middle. So, and I'm also walking this beautiful path of getting educated further with GNM and understand how beautiful it is. But we also know that there are very unique circumstances. So for myself, for how my psyche is working, I know I'm going to have some peace of mind.
Yes.
After this experience, and because there's going to be a surgical procedure too with the removal. So the physician at the time did not feel comfortable just to do the biopsy on its own in his office, which I was kind of impressed with that. And so, you know, I'm great. I'm like, bring it on. And let this be a beautiful example for the other students of GNM.
So you're doing the biopsy in a specialist's office? Is that correct?
I went to the hospital to have this done. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surmising that they want a close-up view, so they're probably going to do it under zoomed in microscopic view so that they can be sure that they get all the layers out. Because if he did it in his office, he would not have those binoculars that get that view, the zoomed in view. Perfect. Awesome. And that's what I like, what I'm liking about GNM as we are studying it. It's very tailored to your needs. It's very specific to your needs, number one. And you don't have to choose either or pathway. You can marry both. And yeah, you can't choose one or the other. That's the beautiful thing. You can choose. You have so much choice as a client, as an individual. You have so much choice whether to swing to the left or swing to the right or just be in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And oh, my questions are done. I am done. And I'm so grateful that you agreed to play with me. In my mind, when you were saying, oh, I still have a lot to work on. And as you know, I keep telling you this, you are my compass. You are my compass. And when you were saying that, I'm like, oh, if she had a lot to work on, what about what about me? But that's okay. It's all our journeys. So yeah, but because I look up to you, so like, yeah, you are my compass.
I've always had this saying, as long as I'm breathing, I'm pretty sure I got some stuff to do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have any last special messages?
I am just so absolutely in awe with what you are doing with our cocoon healing, that whole group. What is the little circle that called the one
Healing Hub, the
healing?
One Heart Healing Hub.
Yeah, and Annalie and just everyone that has come forth. After obviously Dr. Homer and dissecting all of that, and Carol with her you know, her hand in all of this work and still keeping active in this field. I'm so grateful, so grateful. And just the fact that we could just take a walk down this path and, you know, just to bring in this whole nother level of ease and comfort within my body.
It's revolutionary, but it shouldn't be, but to us it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Char.
I'll
see you soon.
You bet, honey. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I will send that recording over to you and do what you need to do. You have my blessings.
Thank you. I will definitely share it with our hub. I think it's going to be a good example for them on how GNM is applied. Yes. And then I'll share it with Annalie. I think she'll have a kick out of it. And she might have you know, pointers, right? Sure. You might say, oh no, it wasn't that, it's this. So, sure. Yeah, we'll do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Love. Okay, we'll talk soon, sweetie.
See you. Bye.
Bye.